Welcome back to a very high energy episode of Current Cinema. We're still doing our summer catch up. So this is week 2 of that. And we have changed clothes. We actually did laundry between episodes just to make sure we're fresh for this episode. I'm Jeff. I'm joined by Kyle, as always. And today the big topic is it is an explosive one. Let me tell you, it is. It is radioactive up in this.
Wow!
place.
Whoa! Yeah, cue the song. Hey, run the clip. Run the clip.
It is Killian's balls in IMAX. It is Oppenheimer.
Yeah, balls and shaft. Yeah.
And let me tell you, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah. All right. Anyways, what old?
I don't know how to
Jeff?
do the bit serious.
Yeah. What did you?
I can't do it without laughing. You know, Nolan. He does it again. It's good.
It's like he has done this before, and here he is doing it again. You know.
So insane.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
No. Anyway, what old movies did we watch?
I watched Pokemon, the first movie from 2001.
Imagine if that was it. That was all you get. We liked it a lot.
And then I'm talking about Pokemon for the next 20 minutes. So,
people are still reeling from the Killian's balls part if they haven't seen the movie. You're like, whoa, wait, hold on. And Shaft.
Yeah. Big time. You know, a lot of banging in this movie for a movie about a bomb. I did see this movie in IMAX 70 millimeter.
Wow.
The talking heads looked very good. Absolutely. But I am ultimate.
I think of the front row person that took a picture and it looks like Thanos' like head.
Yeah. Right.
Every time I think of IMAX, I think of the front row picture that somebody took, and that's Killian's face basically looks like Thanos because it's just like
it's all him.
Top of his head is very small, and then like the chin is like right in his face. It's just so funny. That angle.
Yeah. I really like this movie. Man, everybody on Earth showed up to be in this movie.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And people who I didn't think would be the standouts, like ended up being the standouts. So like why am I blanking on his name? Lucky number 11 guy.
Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, Josh Hartnett. Yeah, I and he was great in Gentleman earlier this year. So it's like I don't know why this was.
Or that was Operation Fortune. I think it was called Operation
Fortune. Yeah, I'm sorry, Operation Fortune. I'm so sorry. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I can't believe that was this year. By the way, the fact that you said that made me go, oh, I don't know what time it is.
You know, that movie that came out 3 years ago. No, like he was great in that, so I don't know why I was so surprised, but he ended up being like a big kind of takeaway for me, just performance wise. And I know it's like based off like the book too, American Prometheus.
Icarus American Prometheus. That's right. Icarus is flying too close to the sun. It's
which might be applicable to this as well.
Yes, exactly.
I really liked. I mean, listen, when this movie got announced, I'm just like, oh, okay, he's doing a movie. Like he must be doing his low budget movie, which I guess in the scheme of things it probably was. Low budget, low concept, and I was okay with it. You know, we just got Tenet. It was way too much for people. I get why he would want to do a movie that's a little more grounded, a little more personal to him and stuff like that. But if you were going to ask a director, like this is the guy to do it because he made something that should be kind of boring and kind of like, I don't know, historical and preachy and stuff like that. Made it very interesting because of the razor sharp dialogue, because of just how well everybody was playing together on the screen and stuff like that. And I just don't think maybe Scorsese could have done it. Like there's not, that list is short of people.
Oh, actually, yeah. Scorsese, I could totally see doing the existential anxiety parts of the movie.
Yeah.
Because he's done that before with Bringing Out the Dead and like there's parts of There Will Be Blood. That's PTA. PTA could have done this movie too.
Yeah. That list is short, you know.
Yeah.
There are some names.
Nolan's the one that takes it to like I'm talking about directors that could correctly assess it from the human experience.
Yeah.
Nolan's the one that's like, how do I make that a spectacle? And he in a practical way somehow. I still don't understand the magic behind it. He was able to make all of these visual effects that he did with his visual effects supervisor or whatever he's called. They just concocted some miniature way to make all these visuals that we see in the movie for real. Like everything that looks like the Big Bang or some particles flowing in space or a nuclear reaction of some kind. It's all created in camera on like a small set or some type of controlled explosion somewhere.
Which those moments were cool, and it is a really nice entry into his mind that like that this guy's like always. This guy's always on fire. You know what I mean?
It successfully stressed me out. Just
he as
beginning.
a human being is the type of person who's always on and like firing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so like it made sense, you know, to encapsulate that for his character. You know?
Yeah, and I like that this movie doesn't really have traditional spoilers. So like we can talk about scenes.
It's history, guys.
And the treasure of the movie is seeing it is the spoiler.
Yeah,
which is I feel like. Yes, it's because of the history, but it's also because Nolan and other filmmakers do this too. Like Scorsese does this too. Like I can talk about The Irishman to everybody, and it's just you still need to see it because of the performances. Like it's, you know, if I spoil the movie for you, it's not gonna be a big deal because you didn't see the
I had to stop bringing that movie up. People did not like The Irishman, Jeff. I'll tell you that.
It's too long. Too long. Hey,
yeah, I don't know. I like that movie a lot, but whatever.
Hey, I'm 30.
I'm
30 years old.
I walk like an old guy, but I'm young. I can't do that impression, but there it is.
I want to kick you.
Eh? Milk me? You want to milk me, Jeff?
Stupid. Sorry for those audio listeners. I was doing a De Niro impression, a shitty one at that. I can't really do the voice.
I don't want to do that. Sorry, everybody.
Thankfully, he wasn't in this movie, so I don't have to do any painful impressions. But Robert Downey Jr. was. No,
yeah, sometimes Robert Downey Jr. would slip into his juniorisms, but he was really good
accent?
Too.
What were we watching it was you I was watching a behind the scenes with.
Yeah.
And he was like, there was a great purpose behind the script.
I
and
don't
you and I
know
were like,
where he gets this from.
What is this accent? You were born in California. What is this?
I don't know. Yeah. He's locked into something, but he sheds most of that in the movie. But every once in a while, it'll show its.
It's when he has to get emotional that he's like, oh, this is like when Tony Stark got mad at the Avengers for failing. Like this
talk
is
about something I didn't know existed in an actor. I was like, I didn't know you were capable of a performance like this. To be honest, you know. And I'm a Robert Downey Jr. fan. That's not coming from a place of hate or anything. It's just, he's kind of one-dimensional until now.
He's there to. He's like it's really interesting. He's in that kind of pocket of being an actor where he's like a one-dimensional, three-dimensional person because his characters do have layers.
Yeah,
but he's
absolutely.
doing his shtick during all of the roles. Right. Whereas this one is more straightforward. Like the guy has a goal. Strauss.
Yeah,
they pronounce it in the movie like more than once to try and get the correct pronunciation. That's kind of the joke. But his character has a clear goal in mind, and that's to use this atom bomb as like a launching pad for himself and his political career and aspirations. So like he's pretty serious the whole movie, and yes, he does have a contentious relationship with Oppenheimer at points and stuff like that. So like when they're arguing, sometimes you see the Downey Jr. stuff come out that you're used to.
Yeah.
And it's when he gets really mad and he starts like dropping F-bombs and stuff like that, and it's closer in the third act of the movie that you're like, oh, there's Downey. Yeah. Like, I mean, that's the Downey I'm kind of used to, where he's like mad and he's doing his little thing that he does this when he's mad.
Yeah.
There's this thing with his hand.
Right.
But it's still such a great performance. Like I can still see beyond the actor. Like
I never got sucked out of it. Yeah.
It's not a performance where I'm like, oh, there's Downey. Like, it's not like that. I don't mean it that way. So I see him from this performance getting some type of.
It'd be robbery if he didn't get some sort of nod. Yeah.
Not at least a nomination. Yeah, because again, we haven't seen. The fall and winter time is where they all the award bait stuff, and I mean that kindly for the most part, comes out kind of back to back to get fresh in the voters' minds and stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll see.
But so
we're
Oppenheimer
going through a strike right now, so we'll see.
It's true. Studios don't give a look. They're like, we got to line our pockets somehow. We're just going to release their movies even if they can't promote it.
Yeah.
Unless it's Dune 2, then it's like...
Yeah, I'm going to say that doesn't resonate with me, Jeff, because I lost Dune, so it doesn't resonate.
It doesn't make sense. The reason I brought up the spoilers is because, like, everybody knows the bomb's eventually going to go off in the movie.
Wait, what?
Yeah, everybody knows that. I mean...
They used the bomb?
Yeah, the Trinity test is what is captured in the movie. Isn't that crazy? That they would do that in a movie
I didn't know we ended up dropping on anybody. That's crazy.
Pretty much right away, it was like it was successful. Oh, you want to do it now? Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. Like, no. Jokes aside, they never show the bombings in Japan because they wanted to keep it. I don't know. I thought the choice to not show it
Yeah.
was a good choice, you know,
Yeah, they
because
didn't want. Nolan understood that audiences aren't really in the mood for whether it's because of the climate right now we're in or
well,
whatever.
we know what
Why did he
happened.
want to give us trauma porn? We're good,
Yeah, yeah,
you
like
know.
we know what happened. Like I don't need to see Sarah Connor like, like disintegrating at a chain link fence. I mean, I want to see it in that movie, but I don't want to see it in this movie with
Right.
real footage or anything like
Right.
that. Like
I
you
think
get
seeing
it.
the
You know
After
what
Effects was
happens.
strong enough because they showed some
Yeah,
visuals
you
that
do
were
see
like,
the after effects, and I think
yeah.
that was
Here's where a family was like burned into the wall from like
yeah.
the explosion, stuff like that. Like you see visuals like through Oppenheimer's eyes. Basically,
Yeah.
he's kind of like what have I done? Which I don't think the movie's trying to say you should feel bad for Oppenheimer, but it's kind of like,
No. No,
well,
but
yeah,
I feel like they do a
yeah,
really good job of you go on the journey of a guy who is just crippled with this idea,
yeah,
and he was blinded by what the end goal of that idea was, but had
yeah,
to see it through, and then somebody else weaponized that idea against
yeah,
the world,
yeah. Like in a way, the movie's about
So
ambition and how we can be blinded by it, and
yeah,
then when the
right,
moment of
right.
clarity comes, it's too late. Like,
Right,
you know.
and how in general scientists are bad and they suck and we should defund them. So
Yeah, we should
yeah.
defund all of them. And in fact, going into
No,
space
at
was
no
totally
point do they
wrong.
ever villainize the again they
Yeah,
treat the
it's not a
scientists.
binary solution that is
No,
proposed.
no, but they treat the scientists as like these were people who were just hungry to finally put some theories into some practical nature through some
Yeah,
funding that they got. And I feel like they sold that really well to me, where I'm
yeah,
like, these aren't a bunch of crazy people trying to make a bomb. These are a bunch of nerdy people trying to find answers, you know?
yeah.
And somebody else takes that and turns it into something evil,
Dude,
you
yeah,
know?
and then they, man, they get so geeked up and
Yeah,
rock
and not to
hard
say
when they
Oppenheimer
come
didn't know
across
he
some
was
certain
making a bomb.
solutions and
Everyone
stuff.
knew they were making a bomb. I feel like I'm
Right.
like having to backtrack a lot on all my statements here, but like
Yeah.
everyone knew they were making a bomb. But like again, it was about like the individual ambition of everybody and like
Yeah.
what that meant for them and everything.
And
Uh,
how it made them so excited to be scientists, like as a
yeah,
collective, like to
right,
experience that
right.
together.
I mean, because this
And
is a thing that changed everything. Like we use
mhm.
nuclear power for everything. I mean, like the whole world changed after this technology came
It
about.
did,
So it's
yeah.
like,
When Nolan said that, I think he said that on the press tour when because the press tour happened right before the strikes and stuff like that. Um, he was saying that Oppenheimer, not Nolan. Well, Nolan for the filmmaking world, I guess, is the most important person to have existed
yeah,
in our lifetime, or actually probably ever, because of how it changed the way you know things as big as governments in
yeah.
countries behave against one another. Like they're not just stepping on each other's toes all the time.
It was a
Or as Robert Downey Jr.
sociological,
would say,
ecological,
chairs,
every illogical
chairs.
change that you can think
Yeah,
of, you know?
yeah, yeah. It's like every way of how we interact with a country is kind of like, you good? We good?
Yeah. How we
You know,
survive,
before you like
to
shake
this
their
day,
hand
yeah.
and stuff. You know, like you have to be like, are we good? You good?
Yeah.
Like everything's
Well, no, I
tiptoe.
don't have to bomb you, all right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it did change everything, and I think the movie captures that in a really
Big
big
time.
way.
Yeah. And I
And
think the guilt that he felt is important to explore. I mean, like
yeah,
it really is what happened. He started doing lectures at some point when he got his clearance revoked at one point, and that's captured in the movie and stuff.
yeah,
But like what they don't show is like that he did start doing speeches and lectures and stuff
yeah,
because he was just like crippled by guilt and like he just didn't trust government forces, and they had already wronged him by that point. They had already taken his
yeah,
clearance, so he was just going around making lectures about how dangerous this stuff is and how you can actually protect yourself. And then he went about protecting himself a practical way of like moving to some secluded island that was like outside of a blast radius
yeah,
if anybody set off any nukes, you know.
yep.
So this is stuff that's not in the movie that I just looked up after the fact because it's a fascinating existence the guy led.
Yeah, yeah. He was a really interesting guy. He didn't try and poison his professor. That's not real, but
You're right.
almost everything else in the movie is somewhat real.
And the fact that they opened the movie with that too was like it's the first 30 minutes of the movie, and I'm like,
well, and I
this
didn't
is our protagonist. What the fuck?
that part actually confused me because I didn't like was that I guess that was supposed to display his
Mhm.
impulsiveness, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like but like it kind of paints him as like he has a killer in him. You see, he almost killed
Yeah,
somebody, and now he killed a billion people. So that was a weird message. But
yeah,
apparently, it's just in the movie because it's in the book and it's thematic for. They make a lot of Prometheus parallels, so like it is
True.
It's important for that apparently. So that's why he said he put it in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's fair. I mean, it didn't ruin the movie or anything, but it definitely made me kind of second guess who I was following the entire movie.
Yeah, right. It's a weird way to again set up your protagonist. You're like, yeah, you're trying to murder somebody. Like, what?
Yeah. And then the way that he slapped it away and was just kind of, they played it off kind of like for laughs. Like, it's just bad. I saw a worm or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he said wormhole. Yeah, because like worms.
Marv,
like,
gotta go on the wormhole real quick. And then Matthew McConaughey came in and he was like, Marv, don't let me leave, wormhole.
Right. There was a library behind them. It's weird.
It's weird how everything converged in this Nolan-verse type of movie in this movie. This is the weirdest movie to pick for that.
Yeah, right. Well, the whole second half of the movie's backwards because Tenet. So.
Because Tenet, yeah. I love this script is very Sorkin-esque, and I know that Sorkin's not everybody's favorite style of dialogue. I listened to Bill Lawrence on a podcast, Pete Holmes' podcast, and he had a great impression of how Sorkin dialogue is, where it's like, there's a pizza guy at the door. You open the door, the pizza guy's like, pizza delivery? And the guy answering the door is like, yeah, pepperoni? Yeah, of course it's pepperonis or cheese. Yeah, there's cheese. Okay, did you get the anchovies on it? And no, I didn't put them on there. What am I, look like an idiot? And it's just back and forth that like nobody naturally talks like. And I'm like, okay, so from that perspective, I get why Sorkin dialogue is not for everybody.
Sure.
But for me, it's still kind of a magical thing when I watch it in practice, because this is definitely what the movie was going for, especially in the back third of the movie, which is all courtroom shit. And courtroom stuff is my jam. Even if it's just deposition stuff. It's my jam, because there's a character being grilled by somebody who's trying to pivot and not put their backs against the wall when they're asked a tough question. Mm-hmm. And like, they just nailed that completely. Like, especially with Oppenheimer's growing anxiety throughout the movie.
Right.
Which kind of mirrored like the bomb going off, dude. That's the metaphor.
Right. He had full-blown panic attacks, dude.
Yeah. That was just really well done, and then how it mirrored Strauss's own hearings. So I guess they're not technically courtroom drama stuff, but the fact that they're being grilled over stuff, and supposed to feel like it is.
There's a tribunal of dudes grilling a dude. Yeah,
it's supposed to feel like a trial for both of them because they're both being grilled. Bear Grylls. So,
jeez. He's a phony. That guy's a phony. He's a fake. That guy sleeps in hotel rooms.
I gotta go to this hotel room and get some vitamins and drink my piss.
Have a good night's sleep all night, and I'll go out and I'll put something on my butt. Fuck that guy. Fuck Bear Grylls, dude.
No wonder Sledge.
I want to throw in one hot take an episode, Jeff. That's my, the people missed us. I got to throw in a hot take.
I'm all for that, actually, because I have heard the same thing, obviously.
No, dude, no, seriously. That's not a bit. Fuck Bear Grylls.
The only risky thing he did was eat hot ones, the wings on hot ones. That's about it. Yeah. On camera.
Sure.
Rest of his
line of utility equipment sucks. Don't buy it, guys. Don't fall into that trap.
I haven't heard of that.
It's like Walmart level quality stuff that you're paying.
Like Amazon standard?
Yeah, paying premium price for because his name's all over it. Guy's a hack, guys. Oh my God, that's Get over it. Sorry, everybody. Ooh, Anyways.
Oppenheimer, bro. Bro Oppenheimer. But just incredible. Even though like the men were the centerpiece, and that's kind of the whole commentary in the movie of how like men are controlling the most powerful weapons in the world and deciding how to use them against civilizations. The women in the movie did kill.
They did kill.
I mean, performance-wise, I'm not talking about actually murdering people, but Emily Blunt and Florence Pugh, especially. I mean, Jesus.
Florence Pugh, who can I say never shows up for anything. She's just awful in everything she's ever been in.
She phones it in every single thing I've ever seen her in.
No, she's great. She continues to be great in this movie. She's like very memorable despite only being in like a few scenes too. Like she's not a third, fourth, fifth, or even sixth build.
She even said that was like a 3-day shoot for her.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize that. That's cool.
Or something like that, where she did in her press tour. She was saying that Nolan was actually apologetic that the role wasn't bigger, and she was like, "Are you shitting me?
I'm just happy to have any. Yeah, I'm just happy to have any role. Yeah,
I just want to work on this because the script is brilliant, and you're Chris Nolan. I just want to work on that with you.
He deserves that. Big time.
Yeah.
I just want to work with you. Great. Yeah. We've told this story before too, but Matt Damon said the same thing where he's like, I had to have talk to my wife, and I had to go on kind of a sabbatical, but I told her if Chris Nolan calls, I'm doing that movie. And he's like, yeah, and a few months into my like break, here I am back on set doing a major role for a Christopher Nolan movie because that was the deal, And
that
I'm like,
was
that's
the deal.
Cool. Yeah, that
like,
was
crap.
Cool.
I
His wife's like, dang it.
Or if my buddy and I write a movie about Air Jordan shoes, I don't know, whichever comes first.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
That movie's great, by the way. I highly recommend that.
Yeah, Air's great.
It's a dad movie for sure.
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
This one's definitely a dad energy movie.
This has got big dad energy. So much so, my dad, who can't sit still for an hour and a half, like watched all this movie. Was like, I thought it was phenomenal. I'm like, what? So yeah, super proud of you, Dad. You did it.
Yeah. It's something about the World War II stuff where like dads lean forward. Our dads especially. Like,
I think if someone also mentions communism, dads are like, yeah,
the Red Scare.
Right? Remember?
I heard about that.
I like that.
Heard about that. Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's a little bit of that too.
Definitely.
But no, I ended up really enjoying this movie. I don't know where this ranks in the Nolan verse or whatever, but like
it's really tough to compare.
It's really tough to like put
the high concept ones.
Yeah, exactly. But like he made a movie, and to kind of finish my story from earlier, when I heard that he was doing this, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I heard how long it was. I'm like, that's interesting. And he ended up killing it. You know what I mean? So it's like, not that I had any doubts. I'm just like, okay, yeah, the 3-hour movie about
had questions.
A dude.
Yeah, I certainly had questions. Yeah. I was like, why IMAX? Like, why?
Yeah.
why do I want to see big heads talking at each other? But then I got to the bomb scene. I saw it in XD, which is Cinemark's like bigger screen. It's not IMAX, but it's like it's still the whole wall of the theater, of the auditorium, and the speakers are just phenomenal. So yeah, when the bomb part does happen, which is just amazing how they did it and how they got it to
the build up is really good. Yeah.
Yes, because it's Ludwig Göransson just absolutely killing it in the score. Yeah. And how apparently somebody had to point out to me that he didn't use drums in the whole soundtrack, and I was like, shut the hell up, are you serious? Wow. He didn't use any percussion really. It was all like synth oriented percussive strings that were just kind of building to tension and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
I know, he's incredible. He's got a great mind. But the way that he was building the score just like stopped as soon as they detonated, and it's just silence. And you're like, you could hear a pin drop in the theater, dude.
Yeah.
If you're in my theater, everybody's kind of looking at each other like, did the theater break? Like what? Was it so loud that everything broke?
Yeah.
And that was such a cool effect that Nolan, I don't know, decided to include. He didn't cinematize it or dramatize that part.
Yeah.
That part of it was actually like what happened. Like, I mean, that's how the sound wave will hit you when it's that far away. So it made complete sense. But it's just I didn't expect it to be captured that way. I thought we were gonna like be there, right there in the middle of the bomb when it's going off, and then we would get like and hear the sound right there, and then we would get the, I thought it would just be tackled differently. So it was a pleasant surprise. Like it was
same. Yeah.
It's like wow. Like it really took my breath away, that whole sequence.
It was really good. Yeah.
And I was gonna say the score is like doing this thing where it's changing time signatures, or not time signatures, sorry, BPM, where it's like it's just constantly increasing by like, I don't know if it's like a multiple of something, but it's constantly increasing every measure to where the point where it's like when it's at them pressing the button, it's like and then like it just stops.
Yeah.
It's freaking incredible, dude. I don't envy what composers do at all, especially what Nolan does, but like having to have the brain for that and like to meet Nolan at his vision and to make it good for audiences, not just a director, but audience.
So it's like it's not like he's got like decades worth of experience of like again like understanding the language of what a director wants out of you. And this is how many times have they worked together now?
Just on Tenet.
Okay, so just this is only the second time. So like they have a rapport, but they don't have a long history yet. So it's like I don't know. It's very incredible what he pulls out of that.
I can see why directors continue to go to Ludwig when they're kind of like, who do I go with? Like, I mean,
feel like
Hans is
like
busy
Star Wars
and like
got
blah blah blah.
Too. Like
yeah.
I feel like they grabbed them like right before he became.
Oh yeah.
The guy.
Right before like Coogler. Well, no, it was around the same time that he was doing Black Panther, but and Creed. So yeah, it was like right around then that it was like Mandalorian came out, and that was like one of the most mainstream things, most easily accessible things that could have come out for him. And yeah, then obviously.
Well, everyone knows that flute, from Mandalorian. Like he,
Yeah.
he created something that like lives in everybody's brain for rent
Yeah.
free now. So good for
Yeah,
him.
the
He's
flute.
great.
Like that's he loves that staccato thing. That's the thing. Like Hans loves doing swells with French horns, and Ludwig does this staccato French horns. Like even in
Yeah.
the Creed theme, he does that too. Where you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I
I
thought he
hear
did
Hans,
Creed.
but
Yeah,
he's more
I remember those being
he's
good
more
stand-ups
staccato.
too.
That theme. When I watch Creed again, and I've seen it probably 4 or 5 times now, I'm always like, oh yeah, that's right. The score is incredible. Like it's a fresh reminder. It's a great reminder. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm actually genuinely excited to see this movie again.
Same.
I'm sure it'll be another few weeks before it's on demand, much like Mission Impossible, which we talked about last week. Go check out that episode. But when it does come out, like, because this movie occupied my brain, I want to say until recent memory. Like, and I saw it week 1 or night 1.
Yeah, I thought about it constantly for like 3 weeks, I think. Yeah.
Exactly. Like,
yeah.
like I think I stopped thinking about it after I left Denver. Like that was like the first time where it was finally out of my brain. And that was like after a month and a half of it sitting in my brain. Like I just couldn't stop thinking about the existential nature of the movie and how Nolan was willing to have those conversations in a movie for once. Because it just felt like thematically, it felt like very deep for Nolan, which he's done that before, but it just felt like on a different level because this is real world stuff. Yeah, I just love the movie so much. It's probably my favorite of the year, I'll be honest. I don't know about Nolan's filmography. That's a much tougher conversation.
Yeah, this would be a hard one to beat for the year, unless like Flowers of the Killers of the Flower Moon are like
moon killer flowers.
Moon Killers of Flower Moons.
Hey,
I mean that could.
I'm here to investigate.
Hey,
here to investigate the murders.
I'm a crow.
So stupid. Stealing other podcast bits. So we're gonna move on to old things that we watch now. We could do a full hour on Oppenheimer, but it just feels a little redundant because the movie's long enough. And the point here is to convince you to go watch it because it is really good. But old movies we watched. Hit me with an old movie that you watched.
I think I brought this up on the podcast, but I wanted to bring it up again because this movie has actually been living in my brain for a while too, and it's Atomic Blonde.
I don't know if we've talked about it before. I
thought we talked. I thought I brought it up on the current gen. Like I was like, yeah, I watched that movie. That's super great. Everyone should go see it. But this is a forum where we could talk about it a little deeper, about like why I liked it and stuff.
Yeah.
I liked that movie quite a bit. I remember watching it and going, yeah, I like that. Yeah, he did good. And I don't know why it didn't like, I'm gonna buy that immediately or go watch it again or whatever, like I do with the John Wick movies. But like, this movie's really good. And on a rewatch, like I don't know, it just struck something that I really enjoyed more this time around. And all the way from like the soundtrack, which is all like Russian versions of very popular songs from like '89, to the scenery of like Berlin and stuff like that. Like it just like it feels like such a lived-in movie. It's drenched in neon. Everything is just neoned out in this movie, like a Nicholas Roffen flick or whatever. It's very much kind of like that in terms of how much they use neon. But I like it. Like it's really
Swedish
interesting.
Guy or whatever, Danish guy, yeah.
Yeah, Nicholas Winding Refn, I think his name is. So man, this movie's just a good-looking movie, and like Charlize Theron shows up, dude. Like she kicks so much ass in this movie, it's crazy. There's a nice oneer, towards the end that's exhausting, and it goes from like a stairwell fight into a car chase sequence, which is very high concept. This car chase sequence is crazy, and they never cut. There's clever cuts, obviously. There has to be. Because, like, how do you get makeup on her after she's been punched? But that's the thing, is the cuts are so clever. When she gets punched, you just see her start bleeding or swelling up or whatever.
Right.
But there's no time to, like when did that happen? They did it just so well that, like, I'm telling you, it's one of the best shot sequences I've ever seen in an action movie. It's absolutely so good. Because I can't see the cuts, and I don't know where the makeup was applied. I don't know where.
I'm not sure where they're happening either. Because even if they're happening when the camera whips around from, like, the central atrium kind of area to the door where they start running out to the car. That's still a lot of stuff that you have to do in a one.
She takes a beating all the way down those stairs, and every time you see her again, she's got a new bruise. I'm like, how did they do this? Like, it's so crazy to me. Excellent movie, man. Vibes for days. What's his face? Why am I blank? I'm really bad. You're bad with words. I'm bad with names. The dude who plays Professor Xavier in X-Men.
James McAvoy. You're
James
talking young,
McAvoy.
yeah, young Xavier. Yeah.
Young Xavier,
Not
yeah. James
Patrick Stewart.
McAvoy is just killing it in this movie. He's
Yeah.
chewing so much scenery. It's so crazy.
Everybody knew
Uh,
what movie this was. It was like Bond, stupid in a good way. Stupid
yeah,
Bond. Yeah.
yeah.
Not
And
Austin Powers, but like, you know what I
and
mean.
it's
They're
one of
they're
my
going
favorite
for loud
storytelling
and dumb.
devices where
Yeah.
like someone's sitting in the aftermath explaining to somebody else what happened. Like it's one of
Yeah.
my favorite story. It's clean storytelling, as well as say. But I also liked all the like there's a lot of twists. Like everyone's not, it's a 007 type movie, so everyone is
Right.
not who they think they are. You don't know who's on what side or what their actual intentions are, who's working with who, and it's a really cool backdrop to throw a movie in. It's like, hey, we're gonna do as the wall is falling Berlin, or the days leading up to it, or whatever, and we're gonna drop a spy espionage thriller right in the middle of that.
Yeah.
And it's great, man. I love them. I like the movie a lot, and that is a great looking movie on 4K with wonderful sound design. Man, just the amount of ricocheting you're hearing all around you and like the combat sequences is John Wick level of,
and I bet
like,
the soundtrack's
impressive.
incredible too, because that era of music is like
Bass heavy, synthy.
they just know how to pick them. Yeah, they just know how to
Yeah.
pick them. It's that new wave style of music where it's synth and bass for days. And the Hollywood just tends to know, like the music supervisors tend to get the clue. They're like, okay, I know exactly what Blue Monday. Let's go Blue Monday. Like, I mean,
right. Yeah, the
exactly
songs you want to hear from like a movie that takes place
Yeah.
during this time is the ones you're gonna hear for sure.
Yeah. 99 Balloons, I think, are in the German version.
Oh yeah. That's a great sequence to 99 Lost Luft Balloons or whatever it's really called. Yeah, man, it's a great movie. I had a great time with it. I urge everybody who's only seen it once to go back and watch it, because like it is a technical marvel of how not only it's shot, and I know it's just neons thrown on like backdrops or whatever, but like there's just an artistic nature to how this movie pops. It oozes what it is. It oozes from every seam of what it is, which is like an 80s action kind of campy spy thriller. Yeah, and it's great. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and I love that action sequence so much, dude. I really have to rewatch that movie because I only watched it that one time in the theater, and it blew my mind. I'm still thinking about that action sequence. When you bring it up, I can still replay it.
Yeah.
And she's fighting that upgraded agent from Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that they play it. I'm gonna try and tiptoe around this. Like, a dude hitting a girl, like that fight's pretty much over. You know what I mean? And because like dudes are just like, we're just,
well, that guy especially is a brick shit house.
Like yeah. She is going against some big brick house dudes in this movie, but she takes the damage. Like she doesn't like just take a shot and keep fighting. Like she is very mobile and agile and goes after them. But when she gets hit, and she does, it stops her in her tracks, and she has to reevaluate the situation.
Yeah.
And to me, there's a realistic nature to that, because and I think anybody could take this. Even if it was a guy actor in that. Like usually when you get punched in the ribs, like John Wick can walk it off. Me, I'm crying for an hour. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna need
so
a
it's
minute.
like like it is hard. Like it is hard to walk off an injury like that. And I think this movie does a good job, especially portraying a woman versus fighting a gigantic male, of like the type of damage that would be inflicted on someone with her like body type, and how she has to maneuver around that, being the least strong person in the room, but maybe the most agile and smart.
Yeah.
And I think
trained, like she was like trained for it off screen. Obviously we didn't see that part,
obviously she is I mean, we going into the movie, she is a assassin. Yeah,
spy assassin, whatever. But yeah, like I really got to watch that movie again.
Good
the
stuff.
old movie I'm going to mention is, I'm just gonna go with 2001: A Space Odyssey. This was a 4K Blu-ray rewatch, much like Inside Out was. By the way, I didn't mention that on the last episode. Inside Out, the colors in 4K, unbelievable, unfreaking believable, dude. Because that is one colorful ass movie. Not just because it's Pixar, but there's a lot of solid colors that are very bright in the imagination world or whatever. But ananyway, imagination. Favorite South Park episodes.
Yeah, it's the best. Yeah,
so stupid.
That's a movie.
Will you just tell us where we're going? Imagination. Oh man. But 2001 is another 4K watch, and still the opening sequence blows my mind.
Yeah.
Because this was shot in the 60s. using guys in ape suits, and I'm watching it going, yeah, those are just man apes. They're totally real.
Yeah.
Like it's something about it, even though you can like your brain knows those are dudes in ape suits. Something about the way they shot that sequence, the way they used real animals when called for. I think they used a real leopard at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And like nobody was on set. I had to look it up because I was like, how did they shoot this sequence? The leopard comes down and jumps on an ape, and what happens after cut? Like, does the guy in the ape suit die? Like, what happens? That was the leopard or cheetah's trainer that he jumped on, and they were just playing.
Oh, okay. Well,
but the cat made a noise at some point that sounded very threatening, and everybody kind of ran off stage after that.
Oh, I didn't know any of this. That's fun.
So they had like one shot to get that sequence right, and that was the shot they kept in because they were like, yeah, the animal's too jumpy. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on from the shot.
Yeah, we got it.
And they just left it in the movie. Yeah, so I had to look up a lot of stuff about that opening sequence because it kind of blew my mind. But I think I watched it. This is definitely because it's Kubrick. It's definitely a movie that you have to be in a certain mood for, and I don't think I was. Like, I appreciated all the artistry, like because I've seen the movie like 7, 8. I don't know. I've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
I just wasn't in the mood for the pacing. Like, how do you go from like Inside Out to this, or vice versa?
Yeah.
It's
a weird double feature for sure.
Yeah, and I kind of had to break up the rewatch a little bit throughout the day that I chose to watch it. So it's just like I can't sit through the slow walking around and you're hearing the oxygen tank for like 15 minutes. Yeah. Like,
right.
Dave, think about what you're doing, Dave.
Right. And they call Kojima pretentious, you know.
I still love seeing all that stuff, the set design and stuff like that.
Yeah, the very first time I saw that movie, I was blown away. I was like, how did they? This movie's like 1960s. So how did they do this?
Like late 60s or even no, because early 60s was Strangelove, Dr. Strangelove. Speaking of Oppenheimer, that's a movie that's kind of appropriate for.
That'd be an interesting.
The atomic bomb conversation. That's it's like a yucks type of.
Yeah, right. You watched that to get Oppenheimer out of your mouth. Yeah.
My favorite part of Strangelove is George C. Scott's performance, especially because Kubrick had to trick him into giving it. He had to be like, "All right, we're just going to do loosey goosey take, and we're not going to use this in the movie." And he would put the silliest takes in the movie, and George C. Scott like swore him off after that. Like he was like. Because George C. Scott was like, this is a serious movie. I'm going to play this serious. This is a military movie. It's about nukes. But every take that you see him in, he's over the top. He's so... Yeah.
He feels like a character from Airplane or something.
Yeah, he's so over the top. And like, I propose what we do is... like, and he never would have done that willingly. So Kubrick had to trick him into doing it. And he was young Kubrick. We forget that about 2001. He was like our age, maybe a little younger than our age. When he did that movie. Imagine that. Imagine doing something like that at that age where you're like, I know what I want to do. I'm going to make a hallway that spins and the astronaut's going to come through and he's just going to stand there and it's going to look like that. Like he did the Inception thing before Nolan did it.
Yeah.
In the 60s. So there's a lot of stuff that's really like still unreal by today's standards. Special effects wise. But there's also some silly stuff too. Like in the background, sometimes it's like, okay, that's like clearly like one of those rear projector screens or whatever. That's just like the window, or when Hal unplugs the guy's oxygen from his suit, and he starts tumbling through space, and it just looks so comical. Like he looks like a wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man. He looks so. I don't know if that was intentionally funny, but it's. I'm sure if you were on drugs in the '60s and saw the movie in theater, you'd be like, "What are you doing, Hal?" Like your mind would be blown.
Yeah.
It's still a great movie. I did watch 2010, which is a sequel to it, and I don't know if Kubrick okayed it or not. I don't think he did. But I watched 2010 like a few years ago, and you can just skip it. Just keep 2001 in your brain as like the canon ending, and don't bother with 2010. Even though they did cast, they got Hal back and they got Dave back. Dave Bowman, the guy who turns into a baby at the end of 2001. Yeah, they brought him back for 2010, and it's like, why did we do this? It's not very good in my opinion. Depending on who you ask, I guess. Some people liked it, but I hated it.
Yeah, but that end sequence is still like one of the greatest trippy sequences like in film history. I feel like it's still the one everyone's like, we need a trippy scene. Well, what are you going for? I don't know, something 2001-y.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like people are still.
Can we just do the star? And there's actually like there's some of that in Oppenheimer too, where there's flashes of light or whatever, changing colors and going in circles and stuff like that. That mirrors when Dave is kind of being pulled into that alien world.
Right.
For what seems like an eternity. It feels like 15 minutes of flashing lights and like a tundra that looks really shitty and like I don't know how he did that either. I think I'm sure you could find the answer online, obviously, because it's a well-documented movie.
No, there's no way to find out.
There's no way to find out though. The internet's been disabled for this movie in particular. Anyway, that's all we got for this episode. Stay tuned. Next time maybe we'll talk about some other summer movies that came out. The only ones that I can think of are Barbie and Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I
believe are out on demand now for rent. So at least that's, a plausible option.
Maybe I'll have a few drinks and watch Barbie,
You were going to laugh your ass off and then be like, how is this movie so funny? Like you will just, that's my prediction. I don't think you're going to be like one of those people online that are like, this is the best movie I ever saw.
Here, whatever. Yeah.
They verbatim.
I'm almost never that guy.
About the patriarchy in the movie, but it's in a funny sense to me. Like, but yeah, there's some people that are like going pretty overboard with how much they love the movie. And look, I get it.
It's $1.5 billion is laughing all the way to it. It don't care about you though. So
it doesn't give a shit about my nuance in a Barbie movie.
Yeah, shut up. Y'all saw it. Y'all paid your money. It's too late. Too late to be critical.
But it's conditioning. It's conditioning, man.
Sorry,
conditioning women to hate men. Okay. Through its really silly jokes.
Anyway, so we'll talk about some more summer movies in the next couple episodes before returning to our regular format somehow. I don't know how we're going to do a new release format, but we'll figure something out.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of new releases are coming. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly, because I think they're going to start posting.
We could pick a movie of the week where you and I agree to watch it,
Just something old to study. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Totally. Well, stay tuned, guys, and if you haven't already, please like and subscribe and comment and all that stuff. Thanks for reviving. To those of you that reached out, you pretty much revived this for us. And it's been fun to talk about movies. So now we're going to go Starfield and Sea of Stars. We're going to do some stuff involving stars in video games.
That's it. That's all there is. There is only Starfield.
It's just Starfield. Nope. Armored Core does not exist. I don't even know what that is anymore.
That's such a dead game. Who gives a shit?
How can you play it if it's dead?
All right. Well, thanks everybody again for tuning in, and you can find us still on Current Gen. We're not going anywhere in that regard. Time this comes out, it'll be like late September. So I hope the world didn't explode. And
if it did, then we had a good run,
Yeah, and at least we all saw Oppenheimer, which is very relevant to that.
Yeah, and how you're listening to this now, I don't know. But
I don't know. It's like
it.
One guy on a remote island going, I hope you listen to this podcast in like 2032.
Hope you saved your bottle caps, because that's the currency now.
That's the currency. Get some Nuka-Cola while you're at it. Found that. Spin it up. All right, and ending. This is the ending.